Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name's Brian.
I'm Ethan.
And today we've got a 75-point Warmachine battle report between Cygnar and Mercenaries.
So this week I'm busting out Magnus 1 for our game. I had a pairing with Magnus 1 Irregulars and Aurora 1 Strange Bedfellows, but that list, Aurora 1, has no angels and it's 3 units of Bile Thralls for like a cheeky Dark Horse Strange Bedfellows and Flames Answer that came up with like 5 months ago but never got to play because the world shut down, and now I feel like the meta's left that behind. Sadly, I never got to live the dream, and now I'm just a Merc player that owns 3 units of Bile Thralls.
I think Strange Bedfellows and Flames is still going to be something people play, though.
Yeah, I just don't know how good it's into the rest of the meta, because
we're going to get 3 or 4 CIDs before we probably get back to business.
Yeah, so it's just it's an interesting list. I'd like to play it. I feel like either it wins really, really well or it loses really, really bad, because it's Bile Thralls, and that's pretty much the list with Gaspy. So I dropped Magnus into the pairing, and he's in Irregulars again with a Buccaneer, double Toro, and then pretty much all of my points are spent on super solos. I got Nemo 4 with a Toro. I got Gobber Tinker, which gets me Malvin and Mayhem, and I have Gaspy 4 with a Stalker. And I had to use my rec options on Harlowe, Hermit, and Anastasia because there's not much wiggle room with the points, because I had a light on Nemo, which got me like Silas and some stuff, but like the Nemo Toro package is just so good. You can't not leverage it, and it's basically just taking a bunch of good stuff that works independently without Magnus, but Magnus can slightly buff it up with his upkeeps, and you just fire a heavy or two, and then you play the long game.
So for my list, there's a small story behind it. It's funny because we've played this matchup before, and it was going to be in a video maybe 5 months ago or something like that. But I deleted the stupid audio for it or the video for it, and then it just things get weird when you start working with files that automatically name themselves. So one of my Ice and Fire videos got pasted over our Haley matchup, so it was awkward. But that's the Spoilito. I'm playing Major Victoria Haley, or Haley 2, and my pairing was set up with her and Siege 1. And I believe that this was an old, or not old, I mean old now maybe, but it was a Swedish pairing from the Corona League that happened forever ago. And I thought the pairing was pretty sweet. And with what Ethan presented to me, it's kind of like a Haley Paradise. At least this list is set up that way. So it's got Haley's bringing along a Squire, an Ironclad, and Thorn as her battle group. I also have Nemo that has a Toro on it. So Ethan was talking about cute long threat ranges, and I said hold my beer, because my Toro threats downtown, downtown.
It only threatens 6 more inches than mine.
Just 6. Yep, that's all it is. Just half a foot. The rest of the list is Sir Dreyfus, Savio, Montero, Acosta. If you haven't noticed, I'm in Storm Division right now. And then I have a Hermit in here, 2 min units of Storm Lances, and then a full unit of Order of Illumination Resolutes, and they have 1 Morrowan Battle Priest just for some nice clutch shield guards.
So I won the roll to go first, and I actually joked when we got to the table before we even rolled. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go first because I'm playing Irregulars and he has no buffs. And he's like, no, let's roll it out. And then you rolled a 1.
Yep, I rolled that one. My 16 or 6% chance, whatever it is, to actually beat the Irregulars on the roll just wasn't going to work.
I know. As soon as you rolled a 1, I'm like, oh, Anastasia, I had to win.
Yep, very fun and engaging turn 1 roll off.
So I opted to go first because I did not want Haley setting the line of engagement for a feat. And this game, which is weird for me thinking with Magnus, I'm not feeding top of 1 because that literally just feeds my heavies into him. And I'm thinking maybe I can feat on his feat turn. I sack my action to walk, and then I can run to do some cheeky repositioning. And here I have to measure Thorn's ridiculous. He's speed 6, he runs 12, you TK him 14, he reaction drives 17. So he can be 17 inches up the board and just scoop one of my heavies by dominating it, and then I lose it. So Gaspy has to walk. Originally I flickered, but then we realized no, I need to put out 2 clouds. So we actually take back the flicker. Brian's nice enough to let me. So 2 inches back, because I need both clouds to block it off and stay outside 17 inches of Thorn.
I did hand those to you a little bit more gingerly than that. I just found it funny that I was you put down the 2 different clouds, and I was no, get that shit out of here, and then pulled the metal one away so they match.
Yeah, I mean, it looks better. Malvin and Mayhem did the +2 speed to get over the water, and I'm like just confirming, like, okay, I'm not going to lose Malvin and Mayhem bottom of 1. And we didn't see any lanes where Thorn could get around and get into there. Maybe Thorn could have went wide around the rock. I wasn't even thinking about that. But so the Stalker is actually proxied by a Scavenger because neither of us own a Stalker.
Yeah, I've got a Mountain of Cricks, no Stalkers.
So I'm just putting up stuff. I wanted to put Death Ward on that Toro, but he had to go first out of my way because I wanted to charge Nemo, because my whole goal was originally to push the top zone. Because, fun fact, in the Storm Division, Nemo 4 has no gun because everything in his list is immune to electricity.
You've got a crappy push.
Yeah, and then apparently...
Yeah, we lost the battery died while we were in this, so we'll have the picture up here to figure it all out.
So basically everything just ran up outside threat. I put up Watcher on Nemo in case he got a cheeky heavy onto me or something cute, but I put Wild Aggression on one of my Toros and then just kind of moved up the board. And put Snipe on Harlowe where it's going to live the rest of the game, where he's tucked behind woods.
So Haley too is she's a really complex warcaster. Even if you were to if you were to consider like she's taken huge hits from her like early versions, like maybe Mark II, maybe pre-Oblivion a little bit, but she still has a really deep toolkit that can do so much in so many different ways. So I think over here I was just seeing if Nemo could kind of float up and start shooting and stay out of the threat range of Malvin and Mayhem, because I think Ethan's done a good job to make sure I can't get Malvin and Mayhem at all this turn, but there's a chance that I might be able to do some other stuff with Nemo. I don't remember quite why I was trying to figure out all this threat range. Maybe it was the Malvin and Mayhem thing.
Yeah, you were trying to shoot the Toro through that little, like, there's a little gap between the forest
and
the ring,
Toro.
which I was fine with because I didn't think he'd be able to get up there.
Yep. And now I'm just, Nemo's going to play pretty conservative. So that's kind of the gist of this whole turn is conservative. It's going to be a little bit more of a longer one because like I'm still worried that, I don't know. It's just with Haley too. I feel like if I don't get anything turn 1, what am I doing with my life? So Nemo ends up summoning out a Stormblade Captain. Now there's a couple other options that I have in the Cygnar list. I mean, they're all sitting in my dice box over there, but none of the options that the Gun Mage solos bring really do a lot in this matchup. And the Trench Buster was a close second for me on this one because first it's a shield guard that I can get around and it's got a decent attack that comes on it. But the Stormblade Captain gives me some nice offensive output with being a POW 13 Weapon Master, a POW 12 Weapon Master. I think it's POW 13. POW 13 Weapon Master is what I'm going to go with. And then getting Tactician on those Storm Blades over there is really not that bad of a deal either. So, or Storm Knights, sorry, not Storm Blades. Geez, I'd be playing a really bad game for that. Next up, the Order of Illumination Resolutes run up, and they're just kind of keeping pace with Nemo. The big reason for them in here is because I get a lot of value out of opening the gate for the D3 grunts coming back into play. And Nemo's Toro is going to be hanging out with him. He does have Lightning Shroud. I don't have Watcher up this turn because I feel like I'm doing everything to stay out of Ethan's threat ranges to make sure that I have a super impactful turn 2, because I can kind of play the long game right now and not start these engagements super early because everything I have is extremely threatening. Stormlances just like threat forever. My Toro threats forever. The Ironclad even that I just run up can get pretty good threats out of it, especially since Dominate does so much work for me in this matchup. Ethan's got 4 heavies and 2 lights, so no matter what, like I can get tons of threat extension out of the Dominate because these guys are all bigger than speed 4. So it's better than doing 2 TKs, like TKing myself forward and TKing you forward, and get a ton of work by just casting Dominate if that's the way I want to do threat extension. And I think I have before threatened assassination on Magnus with your own Toros.
Yeah, that was in the deleted game. I knocked Magnus down. He's like, okay, I dominated Toro and auto hit Magnus. And I was like, oh.
Yep. So I I think now I'm just trying to figure out what Haley's trying to do, and this is like I haven't set myself up to do anything really crazy or anything like that. So I'm just positioning everything where it needs to go and making sure Dreyfus gets somewhere where he can be effective later. He's going to be like a flag sitter and a gate crasher as the game goes on. So I think that kind of rounds out my positioning for everything. I think we were talking about something over here.
We're talking about my Toro threat with Bloodthirst.
Oh yeah, so it was if Gatsby can run to get him in.
I forgot to mention, I opened the gate turn 1 and I summoned an Arcanist, which after I ended my turn realized instantly was a mistake. I should have summoned an Ironhead. Like, I'd weighed out the pros and cons. I was like, okay, Magnus is kind of focus trap because I don't have Silas. I could get an Arcanist, but the Crane Boy would help me mitigate his feat turn, where if he TKs me around, puts a heavy in, I survive, and I'm turned backwards, I can't punch. Now I can crane forward, and that's what I should have summoned, but I summoned an Arcanist instead.
You're getting focus greedy.
Yep, and then as soon as I ended my turn, I was like, yep, that should be a duder. So doing my upkeeps, I get to I upkeep Watcher on Nemo. Gatsby has nothing. I have to spend 1 for Snipe on Harlowe because I don't have
Silas. You only get your 1 resource.
Silly Willy. Yep. And then I know he's going to feat next turn, and I know it's going to be really bad, but and I still got to respect Thorn just scooping out a heavy, and which will probably be Malvin and Mayhem because I know he's high on.
I got fire in my eyes for that stupid unit.
Yep. And Haley is probably one of his hardest matchups just because she can scoop it. Like, we talked about my Toro's threat. I do ambush Anastasia back there because she has a charge lane 2 numbnuts in the butt.
A Storm Knight, yep.
No.
Oh, no, you went on the Storm.
No, I went for your Arc Node, Thorn.
Oh, Thorn, yeah,
Yep.
No, we were trying to mitigate the free strike that didn't matter.
Yep. So I'm just trying to measure out some vectors and threats because his Toro casually threatens 17?
Yeah, I think
before factoring in Dominate.
The numbers get weird, yeah. 17 with a charge.
Yep, because he's speed 5, locomotion for 3. So here we're doing Anastasia's charge.
Yep, so she isn't on the back of the Toro and moves into the melee range, but for some reason I was just thinking the free strike would happen, but it didn't.
So I hit Thorn pretty easily. Dice off 8, 4 dice. I do 2 damage. So that was neat. I was hoping to get lucky and maybe take out his Arc Node and not have to deal with that crap the rest of the game.
Yeah, if you get the Arc Node early, that was just a positioning mistake on my part for sure. But I gave you the opportunity to kind of make this game a lot easier for you.
Yep, if you can Scalpel Thorn, you get to play a semi-fair game, and by fair I mean you're still punching up through the feet. So that Toro walks down, toes the zone. There's no Arc Node on that side, so I think I can contest that zone from ponies at least for a turn. So now I'm measuring Dreyfus's threats. Where Harlowe is, he can casually get on him without TK. And this turn takes me a while because it's a lot of factoring in. I need to position well before she feats because I will not get a turn. So she will get 2 alphas on me. So it's really trying to protect everything. And there, the Squire is just a millimeter out of aim range of Harlowe, which I would really much prefer because there is a shield guard in the range. So I have to walk up. I hits, he shield guards. Second shot, hits. I end up doing a couple points of damage, but I think we retroactively Hermit it.
Yeah, I think my goal here with the Hermit was to try and keep the Squire alive. So we went back, Hermited the damage roll, and then your third one ends up connecting with him because you were going to try and get some low shots on Dreyfus.
The third one did 2 damage, so I had to use my 4th shot. I was hoping to shoot anything.
Yeah, anything but a Squire, turning Harlow's the gun Archon's activation into shooting a Squire.
I would have shot one of the Nemo's unit to get me an extra 2 inches backwards, because now I'm outside walk jump threat of Dreyfus, but I'm within TK walk jump threat. Hermit gets on the flag outside walk jump TK threat, because that's 14 inches. And then, so now I'm going to be on my flag. Gatsby's just measuring up. And then I believe Magnus is going, because I was going to activate Malvin and Mayhem. I was like, no, I need to get Death Ward on them. So Magnus goes, puts Death Ward, and then I believe he sits where he is, because if I get closer, I'm in the danger zone.
Yep, I'll do what I need to scalpel out your caster.
Because I am going to try and knock him down with a Buccaneer. And I actually put Blur on the Gaspy's unit, just to try and maybe keep him safe from a TK angle, because that puts him up to 17, and now that he's got no arc node for a free reroll. Buccaneer goes, aims, shoots Magnus, knocks him down, so I feign death, so I don't think anything gets me through the woods. My objective is Pathfinder, but like it's kind of way over there.
Mine is Eyeless Sight because you have Gaspy.
Yep, so I can't really cloud wall off now because he's got that Toro in Eyeless Sight range, which I know. But I have to put Malvin and Mayhem up in the zone, otherwise like he's going to feat and do nothing for 2 turns. And then I run the Stalker to try and do some weird like body blocking. So like if he wants to TK Malvin and Mayhem, he'd have to move the Stalker first. So that like eating more of his focus. Now that he doesn't have the Squire, I just want to try and make it as hard as I can. Gaspy floats up. I have to respect Toro threat, so that's why I'm putting the Stalker in front of me, just to make it harder, because I think we had talked about it, but his Toro speed 5, locomotion to 8, TK it for 2, so now it's 10, so it charges 13, threatens 15 with reach. Now, if he TKs me, or he temporal accelerates it to 17, what if he TKs me, because now that's 19-inch threat.
Yep.
What if, instead of double DK, he stupid dominates me? Now it's 18 inches threat, because I'm speed 5 on all my heavy, so it gets him an extra 1, and I'm turned around still with no shield.
Yeah.
So my Toro's threat of 14 seems kind of moot.
Yeah, it's rookie numbers.
Especially since mine is against living, whereas yours is just against everything you feel like.
Except for the dominates.
Yep, the dominates against the Warjack. So Nemo moves up. I can't damage these guys, but I'm fishing for some crit knockdowns and push effects. So I push the Hammersmith 3 inches back. Don't knock him down.
It's the Ironclad, but
I don't care.
We don't play Hammersmiths.
Nope. He has a hammer, so he looks like one. Hit the lance. Don't crit knock him down.
Yeah, and you only push him back a tiny bit.
Yep. So now that unit just stays up where I can empower him next turn if he doesn't feed on him.
So turn 2, I have plenty of options, and that's probably one of the most difficult parts about playing Haley 2 is that you have so many ways to get things. It's not about if your opponent ever gives you something. It's more like when and how. Like, even though Ethan's behind a cloud wall and is pretty well bunkered down in the back by his flag, I'm pretty sure I can take out a good amount of points from Ethan this turn, and I think I'm... It's funny right now because I get to sit here and watch myself hem and haw about how I'm going to do all this, but I know exactly what I'm doing just looking at the screen, so you're going to have to listen to a lot of blank space getting filled by me rambling like this.
I mean, Haley is a really complex caster. I'll give her that. She's no longer like an auto, like I just feat and win.
Yeah, not herp derp, I feat and win the scenario like we had said before, or we had said earlier, because in Mark II at least, or even in early Mark III, when you needed just 5 points to win the game, it was very easy to do with Haley to just lock someone out. I think I did a thing here.
You killed Anastasia by walking into his butt with Tactician through all your dudes.
Yep. And Savio Acosta's speed 7, so he can, with that Stormblade Captain there, he was able to walk through all of my Storm Lances and pop Anastasia. He's got 2 chances to do it, and he's Mat 9, I think. He's like a Mat 9 guy.
I think he's Mat 8.
I feel like he's Mat 9 just because it's ridiculously high.
No, you said Mat 8 when we played. And you
yeah. No, he's just really high Mat.
Because he needed a 5 in the butt because he's so fast you could get to my rear arc.
Yep. So having him in there to kind of unjam was real nice, and that getting the Stormclad Captain.
Is 9.
Yeah, he's 9, man.
I thought you did it with the Captain. I thought the Captain went back in which it must have been
I think
Savio.
it's Acosta. Yeah, because the Captain I wanted to do something different with.
Yeah.
At any rate, Savio's pretty good for unjamming, like with the ability to get to where he wants. He's a little far on the wings for my tastes, but deploying on this scenario is just a little weird for me, just because I can spread out, but I don't want to type of thing. Mostly because your threats are all saturated in one space. So the way that I've decided to go about the rest of this turn is just taking care of the easy stuff first, and that's just moving the Stormblade Captain up into the zone. He's in a hard place for Ethan to get to, so he'll be contesting for quite some time over there. Next up, I start to unpack my master plan, and I run Thorn up into the clouds, so he gets corroded, but I now can see the Stalker that's sitting in front of me, and Malvin and Mayhem is easy to see from here as well, just the way that the base works on that obstruction. So with Thorn in, I'm starting to kind of figure out where things need to go. It's a lot of back and forth on, I do want to move this up, but no, I don't, because I need to do something else first. I think the more I play Haley 2, the easier this will get. And that's advice for anyone. Like, Haley 2 has so many things she can do that you really just need to keep playing her and try not to get frustrated about how long it's going to take you to do things. And it's going to be miserable, too, because your opponents are just going to be like, this game's taking forever. But it's worth learning all these different
every
parts
game
of her.
into Haley is so much fun.
I know it is. So the thing that I needed to do here was to get everything where I wanted it to be. I needed to run the Resolutes around Nemo because they were just so condensed in that area there. So it's kind of hard having those guys being the main target for opening the gates. Or opening the gates is getting the solo. I can't remember what the one is where you get dudes back. But they just are literally using their whole activation to get out of the way and still be able to get into that zone later.
It's fold space.
Fold space, sorry. So then the next thing up is it's Haley. That's why I needed to get them out of the way, because I'm checking spaces for my feet right now, and because that's 100% going to happen this turn. So I end up feeding, and eventually we'll roll the die to see how many of these things I get. Maybe I do some speed. I think we flop around models a bunch.
Yeah, you wanted to catch Nemo in the feet for some reason, even though he can't damage anything.
No, I just didn't want him doing a bunch of stuff. Like, he's still got the guns to push around, and that's kind of annoying. Plus, the Hermit isn't immune to electricity, so any attacks you can get on him to get rid of him as a contesting piece are important to me. So, this is another, like, I don't want to call it like a stressful thinking moment, but we're working out all of the movements for how I can make this work. I was like, can I if I TK the Stalker back, and do I leave a lane that's big enough for Malvin and Mayhem to get dominated, to walk forward, and then have my Toro go into Malvin and Mayhem without triggering a countercharge from Ethan's other Toro? Because those are the things I need to think about, is that this is kind of my piece trade to lose, and making sure that I don't have Malvin and Mayhem, or have a countercharge come up on my Toro, is going to be really important for me. So I roll my feet out, and I end up getting 7 models total. And the models I hit are Malvin and Mayhem if this doesn't work, both of Ethan's Toros that are in the middle, Nemo 4, and then Harlowe was one of them, and then I think
the
Hermit, yeah, because I didn't want him kind of walking up and doing his negative armor if I got into a certain space.
So literally everything in my army that doesn't work except Gaspy.
Yep. So I hit the TK without needing the boost. I hit the Dominate without needing a boost. And I think the other focus, I just end up camping instead of doing.
TK'd Dreyfus into...
Oh, yeah, that's what I needed. I needed to make sure those 2 spells hit so I could TK Dreyfus to get Harlowe, because Harlowe will threaten Haley all game if I don't get rid of him. And I have the threats to be able to get him up there, so it's really important that I was able to do that, or it worked really well. This is where having the Squire would have been even better to clinch that up, because then I'd get that extra focus.
Yep, you hit the 7 to hit the
Stalker, yeah.
And the 7 to hit Malvin and Mayhem behind cover without boosting, without needing the future sight, because Haley still has future sight, because they gave her that in the addition change for some reason.
Yep, it feels real good. So we used Nemo's mechanics to give himself his Signs Importance ability and then pump up the Toro. Then we charge into Malvin and Mayhem, and we connect with the first one. Now, since you're turning backwards, you're not a Toro, never mind. So
I'm armor 22 with Death Ward and the +2 armor ability.
Yep, so I got a little bit of work to do, but that first charge attack crushed the damage roll, because I'm at POW 20 with the sword right now because of Lightning Shroud tendrils.
Lightning Shroud.
Yeah. So we start going and buying the other attacks.
You E-leap into the Stalker at dice -3.
Oh, yeah. I forget the E-leaps happen, and we're rolling big dice on the Stalker, too. And the reason why we have to keep on flipping it over to Ethan every now and again is because with Death Ward, he gets to choose the column that the damage goes to, and you're just trying to make sure that you end up putting it where it's the least impactful for me.
Yep, and I didn't Hermit it because he still has Nemo and a Lance, so it's like... there's no saving Malvin and Mayhem unless he rolls really, really terribly.
Yep, and if you paid attention there, I rolled another huge E-leap on the scavenger, so there's a good chance I'll just kill that or kill the stalker with just the E-leaps right now, the way that thing's working. So I think this is my last attack into the Toro that I have into Malvin and Mayhem from my Toro, and I think you're sitting on like 5 boxes or something. It's not a ton. So I realize that I've got a good charge here with my Storm Lance, and we just have to get out the laser to make sure that I don't trip over on Thorn's base, and there's enough space there. It's not super duper close, but close enough that we needed to check, and we get the attack on him. So I do the assault shot first and hit, and then I have to check the power of the weapon, and we don't do any damage with that one, but we E-leap to the Stalker and just rip it off the table. So that was low effort taking. And then we charged with POW 16, and he's like, you need a 15 to kill it. And I rolled a 16.
Yep, so that was fun.
Yep, so Malvin and Mayhem comes down, and the best thing about this peace trade is I'm losing absolutely nothing from this. Nemo ends up teleporting himself forward, and I'm trying to figure out what it is I need to do with his focus, because now I can't see through the clouds because I wasn't close enough to the objective to get eyeless sight. So I end up using locomotion as a pseudo reposition, and this ends up getting me outside of Gaspy 4's base charge range. So if he wants to get on that Toro, he needs to flicker to do it, and I feel like that might make things a little bit difficult for him to get him, or it'll make it so that if you do kill the Toro, it's going to take your whole stack, and I've just got the rest of my army there to just destroy Gaspy if he stays there. Otherwise, the rest of my army is just kind of running into position here. Dreyfus ended up jumping into the middle and took Harlowe off the table pretty easily. It took a little bit of luck, I think, because I needed like a 6 to hit or a 7 to hit.
No, you're mad 8. You needed a 5.
Oh, well, and I guess it was just meant to be. The Storm Lances are kind of positioning for next turn because I'm not sure what I want to do in that bottom zone yet.
So it's going into Haley 2's feet. All my heavies are pretty much locked down except Gaspy, but like you said, if I flicker and charge, I would get 4 dice -2 attacks, and then Gaspy sits naked in front of Haley's army and dies. But so I lost Malvin and Mayhem and a Stalker with 0 retaliation because it's Haley's feet. And I can't, as soon here, like I'm deep in the tank of like thinking of like what the hell do I do to fight back into this? And eventually I'm going to pick up that 2-inch stick and realize I can't even punch Dreyfus because he's out of 2 inches and I can't walk to punch. And here's where people think Haley's unplayable. You feated on 3 of my models, so half of your feet got wasted because you killed them.
Yeah, that's the wrong way to think about her. Haley's all about, like, you take as much as you can with giving up as little as possible to your opponent in return. And that Malvin and Mayhem and Stalker thing, like, those were insurance plays. They were turned backwards, so they weren't going to do anything if I didn't kill them. But just having taken them off the table means that I can really bully the table for Ethan, and now he's got tons of choices to make and doesn't have a lot of pieces. You're down, like, what now, 27 points or something like that?
Something like that. I'm down 25. And there I'm measuring if I locomotion that Toro over the charge around the building. But I'm like, then Nemo has to be up there, and either Nemo dies to an Ironclad, or I just throw my Toro away to an Ironclad for 1 lance. But eventually here, I'm starting to do my allocations after I pre-measured everything out. I upkeep Blur that I have to pay for. I upkeep Iron Aggression for free. Nemo upkeeps Watcher in case I get to do something cute with it eventually, because then like you can Watcher 6 inches and then proc countercharge. Like you can do some weird angles, especially on his 1-inch heavy over there, or if a Stormlance goes into me. So this is like, I'm deep. Like his whole army's up there. I can't do anything, and now I'm measuring like because none of my guns can kill Dreyfus because Nemo can't shoot him. I have Magnus that can walk up and spray over the Hermit, but I feel like if Magnus goes up, that casual 17-inch threat on a Toro that we talked about without Dominate, 15, because I'll probably knock myself down. But if I knock myself down that far up the board, like he gets a heavy on me and just auto hits and probably just rocks my world.
Yeah, the Ironclad and Toro are kind of converging on that center point there, and it's very worth noting that it was super intentional to get the Ironclad within threat range of Nemo. So this way, if you want to shoot, you will take a heavy to the face.
So I ended up doing Bombshell with the Arcanist, because like, if I'm going to summon this stupid guy instead of the Ironclad, the unit I'm going to use it, he crit, so he threw Dreyfus 3 inches.
Which is huge.
Which was just the distance he needed to not be contesting the flag, but I do no damage. And, like, so that saves one problem. I still would have rather had the Crane Boy, and I just craned a Toro forward and killed it.
Yeah, because then you can just start punching him and he's gone.
Yep. So, like, there's one activation down. And then I just got to respect. Now, Gaspy has to hide from Nemo's Toro because, like we talked about, if Thorn gets to Gaspy and TKs him around, I need to position. I think here we're doing the math on what your walk threat is if I put clouds in front of me that you can't TK me into. And his Toro casually walking threatens 14. Like, no bigs.
Yeah, nothing. No problems with him at all.
Yep, because he's speed 5, locomotion to 8, TA 10, TK him for 2. To 12, and he casually threatens 14. Oh, we did the math wrong. You threatened. Yep, we did the math right. It's 16 inches if you TK me.
Yep, and then it was 17 if I charge.
Yep. So it's just it's the world I live in up there. Like, I'd hoped to collapse that zone with Gaspy and Malvin and Mayhem, and now it's just kind of going the crap.
So this is where my plan gets to pay off, that you've decided to walk out of threat of the Ironclad, so now you can't shoot your gun and start pushing me around, and I think even though you tried to.
Yeah, because I forgot about I lived in the world where the feet didn't exist. Because his Ironclad threatens 13 inches with TK and TA, 15 if he TKs me, but I was like, I'm hoping Thorn is not in threat. Thorn could probably get to me because he's Thorn.
Yeah, for those who aren't super well-versed with Haley, temporal acceleration is the TA part of her, and that just gives you plus 2 inches to your movement, and you get to make an extra ranged or melee attack.
Yeah, so it just means you overkill whatever you need to get to.
It's like a weird version of Boundless Charge, but works with guns.
Yep, and works on walking.
Yep.
So here, I noticed he left the zone unprotected. Now they've cleared my flag, so I'm like, okay, these idiots are running to the zone. I'll go up 2 points. But as you can see, I'm sub 20 minutes because my turn 1, literally just measuring his threat ranges, took 10 minutes. Turn 2, where I got to make 4 attacks, took me longer because I had to do Cloud Wall shenanigans, and now my clock is just ticking down, but I don't have much left. So Magnus, I believe, swapped Death Ward to that top Toro and then just boogied over a little bit. He got knocked down again. So, like, I'm living in a world where maybe I get to see next turn. So that Toro, I have to contest the zone. So I put him up. I feel like I have to feed him heavies and literally play the long game as I'm sub 12 minutes here. And by long game, I mean, like, flip the turn 7, maybe next turn get Gaspy in the zone behind that rock, camp at 5, and just, like, hope he can't kill him with his whole army. And then hope next turn that, like, I can keep clearing the bottom zone and just kind of play this weird game of I'm ahead of you, and then you can't catch up and kill my stuff fast enough, even though I'm literally throwing away my army.
Yeah, I had eaten a lot of time on that feat turn.
And, like, Gaspy has to back up outside that 14 inches or 16 inches because Thorn can walk into the cloud, engage my Toro, TK me, reaction drive out of the way, so I can't stop it.
So giving up the bottom zone for nothing is a really unfortunate thing for me. I know that control points are going to be something that gets leveraged pretty hard in this game. So at least you're not scoring it right now. There's that at least.
I did score it.
Oh, then I'm behind a turn. That's what I am.
Because we're a top of 3.
Yep. So I probably
now it's bottom of 3.
I should have committed things into that zone instead of trying to make them fight in the middle here, because my army does have the ability to split up. That's kind of what the Storm Lances are for, and the Ironclad, Haley's Ironclad, can just go wherever it wants to because of her massive control range. So I think now I'm trying to math out what it is that I need to do in order to get this Toro into my Toro, because I do want to try and kill it. The thing that I'm thinking about doing with these murder bots that are up top is walking a storm lance over, or a couple storm lances, just so I can punch them with my spear or with my lances instead of charging them. But the issue is that if I walk one of my storm knights over to try and engage that second one that's kind of towards the back of the zone. That one is within 6 inches, or that storm knight will be within 6 inches of the Toro's countercharge. And I think for Ethan, that kind of makes things better for him, because then it's a little bit more difficult for me to get to the Toro that's in behind these clouds right now. I have to do a little bit more to fish him out, especially getting like the +2 or whatever. But it'd be -2 anyways from like cover and rear arc. So I think I had a couple corrosion checks, and one went on the one went out on the Storm Knight, and then the
Stormlance, but yeah.
Stormlance, yeah. I'm going to call them Storm everything. There's probably one more Storm thing I can call them. But Thorn took one to the 5, which is fine with him. He didn't really take a ton of damage to be in danger of losing anything. So I end up having him walk in to engage the Toro there. This shuts off countercharge, and then I'm able to still arc node while I'm in combat because of the bond that he has with Haley. So that's just one of the...
Such a good bond.
It's so good, because now I don't have to worry about moving up and being like, okay, well, if I move up within 6, I get countercharged. If I move up within 2, you would normally shut off your arc node. So now I can just get here and not worry about that. So now I'm trying to figure out like what it is that's going to get up to the Toro that I unpack into your Toro. So I activate Haley, and she ends up TKing the Toro around, and now I'm throwing a magic bolt into the last remaining. I threw magic bolts or arcantric bolts into both of the murder bots. I hit them, but the one that I just took off the table I should not have hit because we forgot that blur was on them.
Yep.
And I don't think we caught this quick enough to walk it back.
No, we caught it on my next turn.
Yeah, so that's an unfortunate one there, but for Brian right now on this turn, it's pretty good that I landed all those to clear off your contesting pieces.
Yep, you had the Future Sight once.
Yep, I did have to Future Sight once. It was either Future Sight or cast it again, and I figured that I would be better off Future Sighting, but if I had realized Blur was up, I just would have tried to throw the 9 again instead of going for the 7s.
That would have been a 10. Because I was behind
I thought
cover.
You're 12.
I was 12 up to 16 up to 19 because I was behind cover, so I would have been def 19 to your magic 8. So you needed an 11.
But I wasn't engaging you with the Toro or with the.
But I'm behind cover.
Yeah.
So 12 up to 16. Blur.
Yep. Oh yeah, blur.
To
Never
19.
mind. Yep. So, I think what we're doing here is we walked up the Toro, and we got him charged up and ready to go. I threw a bunch of dice. That was the Resolutes taking some shots in there, and they ended up doing 8 damage at dice off 7, so that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I thought maybe my Toro could live, and then you did that, and I was like, now I can't live.
Yeah, it was like basically getting 2 extra attacks out of my Toro into yours because you're turned around, but you're still armed 20. I'm dice damage, and it worked out pretty well because it took out my whole stack to get that guy, and I'm very efficient with being able to take that Toro out. And now with Nemo up, I'm able to instead of trying to be effective by using Nemo's shots to kill the Toro that was engaged, because that's how I was going to try and clean it off if I didn't, was just start shooting with Nemo. I don't need to do that anymore, so I use Locomotion again as a pseudo reposition to get out of Gaspy's normal charging threat, and now I'm back in this whole position of you need to flicker to get to me, or else you're not going to get this Toro. And I do that with the Storm Lances too, where I kind of keep them outside of I think I actually keep these ones outside of the flicker threat. I mean, you'd go for one of them. I probably could have left him up a little closer, and then Gaspy would just be over there and out of my way. But I'm feeling pretty good about clearing this top zone. So now we're going to move to the bottom, and I'm trying to contest in a way that makes it difficult for Ethan to clear the zone with just the Toro. So I've spread them out to where I'm not proccing countercharge, and my Ironclad wraps around the side because I want to make sure that if Ethan does unpack the Toro into me, that the Ironclad's plan is to just charge him back. Dreyfus stands up, walk jumps to the flag, and that's it for me.
Yep, because he sacked his action. So luckily enough, Brian didn't contest my flag. He had to jump Dreyfus to his flag.
Yeah, it was either keep him there to contest or jump him to my flag to score it, and I figured that the point would be better. And I did forget to run...
no, you ran him this time.
Acosta.
Yeah, he ran across the table.
Then it's the next turn.
It's next turn. So I'm up 3-2. I pointed out over there. I'm like, oh yeah, I had blur. My clock was on him for about a minute, so we ended up giving him a minute back, but we fixed that at the end of the turn. So I'm up 3-2. I'm measuring, okay, do I need locomotion to get deep, to get those 2 Toros that are deep in the zone, or 2 Stormlances? And the answer is yes. So I plop Nemo forward 3. I shimmy on up, boost a shot into the Stormlance, because I'm electrical damage. I allocated nothing. So I boost a shot, rat 6. I hit, no crit. Push him 1 inch, which is luckily enough to get him out of the zone.
Yep, it exactly gets him out of the zone, so that was really unfortunate.
I boost a shot into Dreyfus. I crit hit and knock him down, but of course I don't do damage. So now, like, I don't even need the contest. I'm probably going to do it anyway just to be, like, safe. I locomotion him for 2 to move him now in charge range of the guys he needed, because he was just short, or not just short. He needed 2 inches to get there. So I did it for 2, moved him 2, called life good. The little bros are going to be the one that fill him up. So that's what I opt to do, just to see, because I feel like this sets the tone. If I can clear this zone and go up 5-2, I have a good chance of pulling this game out at the end. We're both really low on clock. He's murdering my army. I boost to hit the charge. I hit. I rock him. I buy a sword, or I take my fist. It hits, doesn't do damage. Buy a sword, miss. So
the Stormlance that you were engaged with is left on 1 box.
Yep. Because the fist hit, but then his sword didn't. So that's unfortunate. So now I can't clear that zone. So now I'm in a little bit of a panic mode. So now I run the goober there. We do a little bit of discussion. Like, he's talking about engagement ranges and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm engaging Thorn. I have Gunfighter. Like, what's the issue? But we end up fixing it because I'm not engaging the Toro. So, like, he does do a counter charge. But we'll do that in a hot minute.
I think you were thinking about Watcher, and I was thinking about countercharge, and we just like weren't having the same conversation.
Yep, because I asked about Watcher, and you're like, oh yeah, Watcher's not up. So I'm like, oh cool, I'll just run in. So it might be an activation or 2 until we fix it. So Magnus goes over. Before he moves, we cycle Death Ward to a servitor that was within 6. Because I figured that's better. I upkept Blur, so I wasted a Fury, but it was then, like, during my turn, I'm like, okay, I'm getting a Death Field and just run these stupid guys into a zone. Hope I live under cover. So there I go, max half inch, and then I believe here's where we figure out, yep, you can countercharge.
Yep, and I'm not moving to do it. I just need to try and crack the Gobber, and then I can just get a free swing at this guy and get him out of there.
Because he has reach, I don't, so I'm not engaging him, and I'm not stopping countercharge. And you don't have to move the counter charge. You can literally move 0 and get the charge and get. It's just not a charge attack.
Yep.
But at dice +4, it doesn't matter. And he rolls the 8 to hit, and it's just like, well, I gave you my Gobber for nothing, so that's fun. Gatsby camps 5 with Death Ward and just runs behind that obstruction. I'm just like, I gotta do what I gotta do with him.
You're just flooding the zone right now.
Yep. Buccaneer runs into the zone. Now this Toro, I'm opting for next turn. He's not scoring it. But I'm contesting anyway to just make him waste time attacking, and maybe he'll live.
So I was able to keep that bottom zone locked down with the one like Rambo Storm Knight that was in there, or Storm Lance, and the unfortunate thing about that is I always use my mechanics for Nemo as kind of like babysitters for him and the Toro, so I've never really used them to run off into zones, so it just like for whatever reason I wasn't framing it that they would be the scoring unit to go in there. Had I been thinking more or been thinking properly about what they could do, I probably would have been a little bit more committal on that side. But I've decided to move my Stormlance into cover, but he's inside the zone. I take a shot at Nemo's dudes because I'm like, if I can hit them, then it's cool. But then we realize they're immune to electricity, so I get kind of my own stuff, my own shade thrown back at me.
Well, I knew it. You just learned it.
I know. Yeah,
I thought you knew. And then you went to shoot. I was like, no.
Nope. I wasn't 100% aware of it. Like I said, I'd never look at their cards. I just like, you got to be within 1 for Empower and base to base for Signs Importance, and that's it. So next up, I take my Order of Illumination Resolutes, and we start taking some pot shots. The big one is that 2 of them aim to try and shoot one of the murder bots that's engaged with a Storm Lance. And one of them, he's taking real like Hail Mary shots here because he needs 6s aiming to hit because you get cover and engagement from him.
He needs more than 6s.
Well, whatever it was a
I'm
number that
20
was
behind
ridiculous.
there. You need boxcars.
Yeah, that's what I said, 6s.
Oh, I thought you meant like a 6.
No, I need 6s, as in
Sixes,
2 of them.
And you got close with
Yep,
an 11.
I got the 11, so that didn't quite get there. And the rest of them, I think, took their shots into Gaspy, maybe, to try and just get some plinks on him to drop some focus off of him.
Yeah, but he's behind cover too.
Yep, so I was just like, I shouldn't take these shots, but then I just said, I need 6s, so I'll just shoot him real quick. Or maybe I don't. Maybe I was smart.
Because at first you rolled and you're like, okay, I just need like an 8. And I was like, I'm behind cover.
Yep. And I think while I was fiddling with my tape measure here, I was just saying, this is where I'm going to lose on clock because I'm sitting here thinking about what to do with the rest of my turn. So I think I kill like a legit 1 minute just sitting here figuring out what to do. Like this is like the problem when you've gotten to turn 3 and only have 10 minutes is I have everything. I've played this game so well.
Yeah, you feed it and
all
killed
of my
stuff.
options available to me.
I've killed 2 models so far. I've killed 2.
Yep, you've killed a Squire and a Storm Knight.
No, 3. I killed a Battle Priest because he shield guarded it, so screw you.
Technically, you killed him-ish.
I did.
I
shot him.
allowed you to kill him.
Screw you. I killed 3 models after 4 turns. I get that 1 win.
So I think Haley goes up into the middle of the table here. She's feeling pretty safe with things, so I end up using TK to try and get the. Well, I think I'm trying to figure out if I can get the. I need to TK the Toro back so that I can try and charge to get in range to contest your flag. But unfortunately, I'm just like a millimeter shy of being able to do that because I can't charge you and leave engagement with you ever. So that just is something that isn't going to happen for me. I thought this was going to be like a 2-for-1 deal. And then I say, let me roll back before I TK this guy and shoot your Arcanist. I hit and kill. I would have used the focus to boost if I would have done the shot first, but I said since I knew TK went off, I'm going to not use the focus to boost anything. So next up, the temporal acceleration went on to the Ironclad, and he starts swinging into the Toro. I think you ended up hermiting the first one.
I hermited the charge.
Yep. So now I'm buying shots into you, and he's not coming up that great. I'm dice damage against you, and I barely take out a system.
You took out his left arm.
Yep, but it's still not good for him. I was hoping that maybe I could one-round that thing at dice damage with him turned around, but shutting off the charge attack and watching my rolls go a little cold was not great. And here I run the Hermit into the zone just to be a really annoying contesting piece, but it's and he goes behind the Storm Knight because I want him to kind of make it so that Nemo can't aim to shoot or needs to start moving in weird ways to get there. Not that he needs help hitting the Hermit, but that's what I've decided to do. Dreyfus goes up onto the flag behind the building where he's going to live, so it's difficult for Ethan to get points on that thing. It's worth noting that the TK got him out of contesting range, and then I think in the top I just end up doing some garbage and pass the turn because I just don't have the time to do anything.
So Brian moved the clock last turn, but I have about 5 minutes. Brian's at 1:38. I remember this exact number because I'm like, I want Magnus to Arcantric Bolt that stupid Stormblade, score the flag, but I'm like, can he kill Magnus in 1.5 minutes? And I was like, I think he can.
Yeah, and I think it's worth. You're at 3 control points right now, and I'm at 2.
It's actually I'm at 4 to his 3 because I couldn't clear the zone last turn to go 5 to 3. So the Toro, the mechanics walked up. One was in range to empower the Toro that was out of command. So the Nemo goes up. He shoots the Hermit, does a point.
But it pushes him out is the big thing.
I only rolled 1, 2. I boosted into the Storm Knight and missed. Or now I'm calling him a Knight. Storm Lance,
because I'm def 17 behind that, so you don't quite connect.
Yep. The Toro, I did allocate fully to the Toro. The Toro's right arm is up, and I upkept Wild Aggression. So there I'm measuring, like, I really don't want to put Magnus in the zone because I feel like I can squeak this out. So Toro goes up with Wild Aggression. I'm hoping I can kill this and just stay contesting. Or not contesting because he'll TK me out. But this is top of 6. So like I feel like it's gonna be okay, but then like my rolls go really bad with my POW 18, POW 20 because I did Deathfield from the Hermit, and I leave him on 5. Both arms are up.
Yep, that was pretty good for the Ironclad for coming up short last game. You have to get your win somewhere.
So now I'm like, do I want to do it with Magnus? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be cheeky. Buccaneer digs deeper into the zone backwards. Now he's probably in TK range to get out of the zone. Gaspy goes. He boosts a Hellfire into the Stormblade. And then at dice damage, I roll a 4 and leave him on 1. So like now I got nothing to clear him. So I'm like, I can't lose Magnus. I need to... But here, I move the Toro. He's able to get reach on both of those dudes. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to Raw Dog a 7 with my initial. And then I buy an attack, and I hit it. And I, at dice -1 because of unyielding, kill it. So now I score that zone. I'm not going to go up to 6 points, unfortunately. But Magnus just runs away.
So I need to get better at visualizing those like reach ranges from both sides of a reach heavy or a 2-inch reach heavy, because I was hoping that I wasn't going to be able to get that to happen again because it happened the first time when you charged in. But unfortunately, I just wasn't able to visualize that as easily as I thought I could. So next up, I've got very little time here. I know I'm going to clock this turn because I can't outscore Ethan anymore because I just don't have the time to do it. So Dreyfus ends up walking up and getting in the zone, and I think now I took some swings with that Ironclad into the Toro, and I decided to just get crazy and charge Haley into the Toro to try and kill it. And this is where I end up clocking, but we finish the damage roll, and I don't do anything out of it. I was just like, this was my little kid moment, and I thought that it would work. So it really just goes to show that I need to play more games with Haley too in order to make my decision process a lot faster with her, because if you notice the table, like I've got you under my thumb in terms of attrition. Like there's no way you're getting out from under this.
Screw you. I've killed 5 models this game. So you know what? I'm feeling pretty good.
I know I've probably killed about 5 models too, but my 5 models probably equal like 70% of your list.
No, because Nemo's still alive,
Yeah,
and he's like
sure.
a big chunk, and so is Gaspy. They're like 28 points, so screw you.
Yep. So I think that given more time, because I did like him and Haw with a lot of decisions and positioning issues, like having to use the run on the Resolutes right away to get them around Nemo was really like inefficient, and then trying to figure out what to do with the time on the bottom, or trying to dodge all these threat ranges when I should know better where they need to go. It was just an exercise in like complex calculations, I'd say, from models. Like that's really what really hunkered me down in some overloads of decisions. So it's just figuring out what you need to do with Haley, what it is you need to cast in order to make that happen, and then executing it and moving on and just being done with it instead of trying to explore every single option you have in front of you. Like, oh, could I get Malvin and Mayhem? Should I TK the Stalker out of there too and try and get them both in melee? It's like, no, you just deal with what's in front of you and go from there.
Yeah, you get option overload. I remember we talked about it like, God, this must have been like 5 months ago where I played Kruger 2 on the channel for the first time, and it's just like I took a 30-minute turn too, because it's like I have so many options.
Honestly, that second my feet turn for Haley was probably close to 30 minutes.
And like it netted you a scenario play and like attrition wise. Scenario not so much because you left the bottom zone.
Yeah, that was a super mistake.
But like whoever thinks Haley 2 is garbage now that they nerfed her feet so you don't just auto win on scenario can go screw themselves. Like
every game I've played with Haley 2, even when I'm not playing her into Warmachine, because I played a few some War Table games with her, like into Legion, I think. Every time you play her, she just is. If your opponent has concentrated threats, like a lot of things are right now, if you're not Flames or Wolves, like she just manhandles them. Like she just sits there and says, you don't get to do what you want to do because you have to always be worried about what I can do to you.
Yeah, like she just still runs the board. Like I couldn't do anything under your feet turn. Like I misplayed with my summoning. Like if I'd summoned a Crane Boy, I could maybe kill Dreyfus, so I would have got 1 free kill on your feet.
Yep.
And that's it.
That's
and
all,
then,
yeah.
Like you said, it's not Haley's question isn't if she's going to get a heavy, it's when she's going to get a heavy, because you got it. You pulled a heavy on your feet turn. Now I dirtle and do nothing. Now you pull another heavy, like you pulled 20 or 30 points worth of models with 0 retaliation.
Yeah, being able to E-leap into the Stalker.
Oh, I forgot about the Stalker. That's 38. Because Malvin and Mayhem's 17, the Toro's 13, and Stalker just died to stupid E-leaps. Like,
Yep.
So you took out 38 points with 0 retaliation.
Yep.
Like, I got to make an attack turn 2 with Harlowe, and then I didn't make an attack until turn 4, except for my stupid bomb throw that did damage.
Yep, you said it earlier. Haley gets, because of Haley's feat and the way that she attacks you, I get 2 alphas, which is very clearly what happened in this game because of all the stuff that I still have on my side of the table. The one place where you were able to do work was in the bottom zone, where I just kind of like shit the bed down there.
Yeah, like if you have lances contesting that far end of the zone, because they threaten the whole zone. Like,
yeah, I can put them in little like corners of the zone, and the Toro can't get to all of them.
Yep. And then, like, I don't know what I'd do at that point. Like, I literally needed to pull scenario out of my ass and, like, run your clock.
Yeah,
and, like, that's not a good way to win. Like, it's
not
a win
against Haley
condition.
either.
Like, banking on Haley misplaying and just wasting time is never a good way. Like, I know you're inexperienced with her, but
so it's
I know,
easier to
like,
do to me. But against someone who's got maybe like 20 games of Haley 2 under their belt, you can't tank them because they know what they're doing.
But I figured, like, even against you, like, not to say, like, in your inexperience that I knew you'd clock, but I was like, you can still just TK my shit out of the zones and then I just lose.
Yeah, TK or dominate them all out. We were talking about the stuff with the Buccaneer. I'm just like, TK that out of the zone, and if I kill the murder bots and TK them out, then all this happens. But, like, it's all about just trying to make the decisions quick with Haley and knowing what you need to do and do it in the least amount of time possible.
Yep, because if you hit that boosted 11, because Gatsby's def 14, he's def 18 behind cover because I swapped Blur for Death Field to try and keep him Death Ward to tank his armor off, so that way if he ate a Toro full camp or like some charges, he can maybe live. Like if you hit that boosted 11 or boosted 10 because your focus 8 because I took out the Squire, like, and turn him around out of the zone, like you just sweep that side.
Yep, that top side collapsed pretty easily for having a lot of points in there. But that's the Haley thing though, is like you get to do so many things to your opponent and they don't get to do much back to you. And I think that anyone who doesn't look at her as a serious option to have in your tool, in your play kit for a steamroller pairing is really underselling the potential of Haley too.
I think Cygnar players got complacent. Like, after they nerfed her and she wasn't an auto win, they moved on to better and greener pastures. But then Flames came out, and, like, Haley's biggest problem is she's not Morrowan. Like, that's why people don't play her, because it's like, oh, flames on flames on flames. But now, like, with Infernals out, like, I feel like TK is such an important spell to get around their stupid countercharge shenanigans with, like, a 5 heavy brick. And, like, her feet can time walk. And then, like, you can just do work. Like, Nemo with that Toro just casually threatening 17 inches against anything that's not Warjack, since +2. But 15 inches threat without making attacks, because, like, that's just you buffing your own Jack. Like, that's damn impressive. And then, like, it's just a casual POW 20.
Yeah, even with locked horns up from an Omidamos game, like, you're killing tormentors pretty easily, and you're not losing a lot for it unless they brick. If they brick, then, and if they brick against Haley too, they're probably going to lose anyways.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and now, like, Nemo is just such a good package for, and I feel like post Oblivion, with all, like, the super solos running around, like, that feat just shuts down things like Nemo 4, because he's a big important package in a lot of lists. Gatsby, Malvin and Mayhem, like, all the things.
Quadruple Archon lists.
Yep, Archons, like, she just shuts them down. And even still, like, I think she has game in the flames, because it's like, you know what units don't like? When their leader has to sack their action and just walk. So basically, like, unless their leader's far up the board, that unit's threat is now limited to that unit commander's command walk threat.
Yep, and then the Stormlance is on top of that, being able to get 3 attacks in against flames. Like, for every Stormlance gets 3 attacks on the charge, and that
more if they get more impact attacks.
Yeah, with the impact. Yeah, so, like, probably bare minimum 4, because you get the assault, the charge attack, the E-leap, and the impact. So bare minimum 4 damage rolls.
If you kill with the impact attack, you can't assault those, so it's like,
oh, gotcha.
It's a weird wash. If you multiple impact attack, if you impact attack a model that's not your charge target, then yeah. And like
Yeah,
you can
that's
maybe
what I was getting at.
okay. And you can maybe shenanigan get a few more. And like yeah, they can vengeance into you and then punch. So it gets weird, but like she's still really good.
No, she's nice. I really like this list. To be honest with you, the thing that I like the absolute least in here are the Resolutes.
Yeah, like I get why they're there.
I get it too. It's just every time I've dropped them, they don't feel good into the things that they're not supposed to go into.
I mean, they're only 13 points though. Like
I know they're cheap, and they've got a range. They've got a range 13 PAL 13 gun or range 12 PAL 13 gun. Like PAL 13's good. Like it's a better hand cannon, and they can fight. They can shoot. They do a lot, but it just feels like whenever I've played them, they don't do what I want them to do.
they're a range 10 PAL 13. But
Oh,
like,
sorry.
they're still really good, and they're a good medium base unit. They ignore clouds, so like they just do work, or they don't ignore all clouds.
No.
No, it is all clouds.
Yeah, it's all clouds and the gas effects or whatever.
Yep. So like they do work, and then like you bring them back. Does Nemo bring them back on full boxes or just one?
I thought it was one for medium base guys, but I haven't brought one back in a really long time, so I'm not 100%.
I know. Whenever
sure.
I play him, he's doing his pulse thing to mitigate his speed 4.
Yeah.
Yep, with one box. So like you can just keep. It's D3 though, like, and you can just
Yeah,
keep
if I take a
doing
good
it.
charge and getting 2 to 3 of those guys back is just rancid.
It just gives Haley a legit recursion package, and like I know you could maybe try and slot in. I mean, you can't really slot in like Legion of Lost Souls in this list because they don't get vengeance, so they can't do their stupid, ridiculous.
Yeah, I think
recursion.
I think the thing that might be nice, and this is just me being greedy over here, is having another arc node would be cool.
Yeah,
But I think the Resolutes probably give me more than. I think if I got another arc node in here, it would make it harder for me to play because I'd have multiple decisions to work on. But otherwise, I think the list plays really well. And if I just were playing quicker or were a more efficient Haley player, I think I've got this game on.
yeah, like this is 100% in your favor, and like that's just like my pairing was not built to deal with Haley too.
I think a lot of people's aren't because they forget like how good she is, especially if you're Warmachine centric, which I think a lot of people are right now, even after the CIDs that are coming. Like, I still think that Dominate is such a massive spell that people don't remember exists because, like, usually they're like, TK's the thing with Haley, but Dominate just, like, walks you out. She can even punch with it. Like, it just, imagine losing Harlowe to your own guy.
Yeah, I know. I don't need to imagine. It's happened before. And yeah, she's just very versatile, and Thorn is still the best arc node in the game. Like, the fact that he can run to engage, stop my counter charges, and still arc is bananas. Like, he's just good.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal list, a phenomenal package, and I think it was interesting to see that we both were playing similar lists, but I just had more of a controlling element than you.
I mean, the only similar thing between our lists was Nemo.
I guess, like...
You have...
Yeah, I do have a ton of units. They're not similar. The similarity was Nemo and a Toro.
Yeah, and yours is better.
Yep, it was fun, though.
Yeah, it was fun for you.